All right, everybody. Welcome to the session for the virtual open day for the Postgraduate Diploma in Business Management and Administration. My name is Henry Boyson. I'm the Client Liaison Officer for Stellenbosch Business School. Thanks once again for joining us this evening and, taking of your time, to explore a little bit about this program that you've got interest in. And hopefully, at the end of the session, we will be able to or you'll be able to have a little bit more in-depth knowledge, as well as make a wise decision when it comes to this program. On the line, joining us from Stellenbosch Business School, I'd like to also welcome Edwina Sonnenberg, who is the manager in the Center for Student Administration. They deal with the applications. So once you've submitted it, Edwina and her team um, looks after those
Yeah.
applications. And then we've got as well um, Olivia Messias, who's the program coordinator. So Olivia it's like we say, like the mother of this program. So once you get into this program, Olivia handles your program administration. She makes sure that, everything that is related to the program, if you've got any issues, if you're not going to attend classes, if anything, that will be Olivia for you. And then I'd like to welcome Andrew Stevens. He is the alumnus that's speaking on this program this evening. Andrew is also the head of our IT department. So you will also be speaking to Andrew um, for anything related to information technology. Um, and then, of course, Sonja Cilliers, who is the head of the PGDip in Business Management and Administration. So she runs this program. She knows the nitty-gritty about the program. She knows, what it's made of and how it will make you successful during your journey at Stellenbosch Business School. So at Stellenbosch Business School, you come here, you come for this degree or this journey, but it's just more than that. You are enrolling for a degree, but we'd like you to leave with, a transformative experience that's not only changed you academically, but it's transformed you in terms of your, professional, the way you think, and also just, transforming yourself, within your professional career. We like to see success stories of people completing our programs and going on, getting promotions and just, excelling throughout the journey from there. And yeah, with this program, we try to give that transformative experience through our values, in which is, of course, is excellence, but to provide equity. We treat each other with respect. That is within the classroom. That is, as peers, as staff as well. We try to create value for a better world. And as you'll see throughout your journey at Stellenbosch Business School, these words such as responsible leadership, which I think is also one of the modules in this program, and I think Sonja will explain a little bit more about that later. We take accountability for our actions, and of course, with everybody, compassion plays a vital role. So just a high-level overview of our academic team. This is not our entire academic base. So this is just, for example, those who lead the program. So for the business school is run by Prof. Chris van der Wolfen, who's our senior director. And so yeah, and as you can see there on the right-hand side, you've got Ms. Sonja Cilliers, who's head of this program. There's, other lecturers here as well, the head of the MBA, head of development finance. There's another stream for this program, which is the PGDip BMA in data science and AI for managers. And so, yeah, that's just a overview of which lecturers to look forward to. So, yeah, so what we pride ourselves is our ranking. We were the first business school in Africa to hold the 3 major international accreditations, which is the AACSB, EQUIS, and AMBER. And only 1% of all business schools in the world have this. three major accreditations, which is nice because, you know, after your journey here, and I mean, every day I get these emails from verification agencies because our students are going abroad, and that's why these, you know, these accreditations are so vital, because you can take this qualification and you can go and apply for a job anywhere in the world. And that is what is so important for us, you know, to have these accreditations. So yeah, we are a top research university as well. And as you can see, the business school has been around since 1964. So just a couple of years ago, we celebrated our 60th anniversary. And so yeah, so that also just shows that, you know, it's not only a fly-by-night business school, but we are, and we are for the long run. So for those of you that are confused, I know that, well, not confused, that just want to know where we are. So we've got people from Port Elizabeth, Durban, I think Johannesburg as well. Dani, that's sitting in Pier. So we are not in Stellenbosch. We are in Bellville. It's the Tiger Valley Bellville precinct. It's about, I would say, it's in the center of the Cape Town CBD and Stellenbosch itself. Very located close to the international airport as well. And yeah, so that is where we are. So don't make the mistake if you are doing modular, booking yourself in Paul or in Stellenbosch, but rather close to the vicinity of the business school. And so yeah, so just a little bit of some fun facts is that we've got over 35,000 alumni worldwide. We partner with 15 universities. We've got 6 research centers. And yeah, we publish quite a bit of articles. Yeah. Very important. So the timeline. So applications have opened for this program, and yeah, they are trickling in. So time is slowly running out. The applications for those that are non-RPL. So we would consider those who've really got an NQF level 7 qualification, close on the 31st of October. And that includes the international applications as well. And for those that are RPL, recognition of prior learning, so that's where we look after you leave matric. You know, we look at your work experience, we look at your lifelong learning journey. Those applications close on the 30th of September. And the reason for that is because that process takes, you know, there's interviews involved. There's a panel that looks after those applications. So it's a little bit more longer to assess than your general applications. Okay, so just an overview of Ms. Sonja Cilliers. She's a chartered accountant. She's the head of this program. She's a senior lecturer at the business schools in business finance. And she's also the head, as I mentioned, for the PGDip in business management and administration. She serves as a member of the Center for Corporate Governance and has extensive experience in corporate coaching, mentoring, training, and facilitation. Research areas or interest is the promotion and development of emotional intelligence in an organizational context. So that is Sonja for you, who's going to be taking over the next segment of this presentation. Sonja, thank you very much for your time. And yes, yeah, over to you.
Thank you, Henry, and welcome to everybody. It's so nice to see you, and I'm very excited to hopefully welcome you very shortly to the Stellenbosch University experience. So we often in this program get applicants who are Stellenbosch alumni already, and maybe maybe if you want to just put up your little hand signal there, so we can see how many of our audience tonight are already familiar with Stellenbosch. That's always very, very interesting to see. So I see a number of hands being raised. It's very interesting. So for those guys, welcome back to Stellenbosch University. It might be a few years since you've last studied with us, or maybe you've just recently completed another undergraduate program. And if you are new to Stellenbosch, welcome. You know, we have we have such wonderful alumni, and we'll hear from Andrew later. I myself am a Stellenbosch alumni. I did my undergrad and two postgraduate degrees actually with Stellenbosch. I'm currently busy with my PhD at UCT. So it's just a wonderful journey, and we see many of our PGDip students. Once they come to the business school, it's almost like we can't get them to leave. It's actually fascinating. Many of our PGDip students continue on to the MBA and even further. Some actually do. We have had students that have done multiple PGDips, believe it or not. One is not always enough. Or they go on to a master's. We've got different MPhils here. I myself did the MPhil in coaching, which was wonderful. Of course, we've got the MBA. Many students on the PGDip BMA, which is Business Management and Administration, will continue onto the MBA, which is the master's level program, but in a similar vein. But we have such a wide offering. Once you're with us, you can check out all our offerings, and I think you'll really enjoy it. So I want to take you through a bit of what you can expect in this particular program. It's a fantastic program. We've been running it for a number of years. I've been involved with this program really since its inception, and I've seen it grow, and we've seen many of our students just continue into their management journeys. And this is really what the program is about. Focus on management, but also entrepreneurship. Whether it's you being an entrepreneur yourself, or whether you are an entrepreneur, in other words, entrepreneurial mindset, maybe within a corporate environment. Because these days we know that the competition out there is so strong. Any business, doesn't matter how big the business or how small the business, has to have this entrepreneurial mindset in order to stay relevant and to stay in contact with the market out there. So so let me tell you a little bit about what to expect. We'll cover just a program overview, why this program, program leadership, curriculum structure, learning outcomes, who should apply, our basic admission requirements, the delivery format, which is always interesting because we've got two very different delivery formats, and you're going to have to decide what is best for you. Now, I see we have a lot of people, when we heard in the introductions, people from all over the country. We often even have people from wider than South Africa, up in Africa, even students from further than Africa. So we have formats that suit those needs to make it easy for those who can't travel and come and join us, on our in-person program. Right, so we'll talk about a few of these things. Right, so just a little bit of an overview of the program. Really, I think for us, what I would like to see you leave here with, yes, a little bit of book knowledge, of course, that's important, but it's so much more than that. It's really to develop your judgment and critical skills even further. When you do undergraduate, that's where we lay foundational knowledge. So in a typical undergraduate program, your lecturer will teach from the textbook. They will teach from questions. And you go back and you study the textbook, and you come and you write tests of that nature. But what we do here at the business school, we see this is a postgraduate program. So it's a different level. We actually follow what we call like a flipped classroom approach, where we give you the reading material beforehand. We expect you to be up to speed with the theoretical aspects. And then when you come to class, we follow a different approach. We really then look at case studies, develop critical thinking, do team assignments that sort of immerse you in that team environment. And you'll see our assessments are very reflective in nature. How do you apply critical thinking in a business context using these tools and theories? So it's not that typical undergraduate way of teaching. We have this philosophy across our program. So you'll see this in this postgraduate diploma. When you go into the MBA, you will be perfectly positioned and you'll be very familiar with the way we teach. So we carry this teaching philosophy through our master's programs as well. And that's one of the reasons why if you are considering an MBA, this is actually a wonderful gateway into the MBA, because you'll have the advantage that you are familiar with the style, you're familiar with the way we approach management studies when you enter the PGDip. So the feedback that we get from our MBA students that did the PGDip is, okay, I went through, the newness of it all when I did the PGDip. By the time I entered the MBA, I was comfortable and I could just hit the ground running. So that is really an advantage, and you'll be able to sort of mentor those new guys. Of course, you can do the MBA without doing the PGDip. You might have a different honors level degree, so you can enter the MBA on that basis. But we do find our PGDip students that come through this program very, very strong in the MBA. Right, so the credit level, for those of you that are interested, it's an NQF 8 level. So it's basically an honors level program, equivalent to an honors, 120 credits. The duration, we have two options. You can either do the program over 1 year, and you'll hear from Andrew a bit later. He just completed it last year, over 1 year, or you can do it over 2 years. So the 2-year program we introduced a few years ago. Initially, it was only a 1-year program, but we did notice that it's quite a busy year. And, depending on where you are in your career and your life situation, it might be the case that you might feel more comfortable doing it over 2 years. It's a little bit less pressure, exactly the same materials, but it's just half in year 1, half in year 2. So it takes that little pressure off. And, we have many students, some of our top students do the program over 2 years. So maybe you're in that situation where you haven't studied for a long time and you just want to have a little bit of a easier beginning road, then I would definitely recommend the 2 years. In fact, many of our 2-year programs end up being the top students in the program, as you can imagine. So it's really for you to think carefully about your life situation, your work situation, how you manage stress and things like that. So just think about that when you decide. The formats, you'll hear a little bit more about this, but we've got 2 formats. The one we call blended. Blended is essentially you are in class like we are here now. So it's a virtual classroom. The content and the work is exactly the same. I mean, we all know from COVID. I think we all learned this in COVID. Now, at the business school, we've been teaching in this blended format since way before COVID. So we were completely ready for it. But I think what we've all realized is it's not a lesser experience being in a virtual classroom. We've got strict policies. We require our students to keep cameras on. We have engagement. We do a lot of teamwork, a lot of interaction. So this is like being in a classroom, but it's a virtual classroom. The other option is what we refer to as the modular program. The modular program, you come to campus, typically once per term. So we divide the year into 4 terms, and for 1 week per term, you come to campus and you've got all your classes in that 1 week. So essentially, if you're in the modular face-to-face program, then you have 4 weeks of classes per year. So if you do it over 2 years, you've got 8 weeks. If you do it over 1 year, you've got 4 weeks. So if you do it over 2 years, you'll have, let's say in year 1, only morning classes, year 2, only afternoon classes. If you do the program over 1 year, you'll have morning and afternoon classes over the 4 weeks. Of course, it doesn't mean that you only have work for 4 weeks a year. Beforehand, you've got your pre-work. And of course, there's a lot of assignments and assessments in the in-between periods. So there's a lot of continuous work. The blended format, which is the virtual classroom, works slightly differently. For those formats, we have 2 weeks that you attend class virtually. So we will give you that information, and it's actually already the data on the website. So you are in class virtually for 2 weeks. And then the rest of the time, you come to class. It's normally, I think Olivia can correct me, it's normally every Wednesday. I think it's every Wednesday evening. from 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock. So you will have an online class, and it's all compulsory classes. Class attendance is compulsory. Lots of the work. Okay, thank you, Olivia. So there are in the chat, the 2 block weeks, 1 to 5 February and 5 to 9 April. So for those 2 weeks, if you are doing the blended format, you have to be in class, albeit virtually. So you'll have to put in leave for those 2 weeks. And then the rest of the year, you will have, we have a few short breaks, but basically every Wednesday evening, 4 to 8, you'll be in class. So you'll have to organize that with your employer so that you have that time available. As I said, class compulsory. Many of the teamwork is assessed in class. And if you miss the class, then you miss those marks. So it is a compulsory format. Right, and okay, so I think that's all I want to say on this slide. So yes, you can see here on this slide the sort of what we touch on. We have built a program to cover those essential management skills. So we realize that in your journey, you might be a manager already, but or you might be moving into a management role. But this is really for managers to really hone those skills. Now, we know that a manager, doesn't matter what your background is, you need a wide variety of skills. You need some financial understanding. Now, I myself, I'm the finance person. So I designed the finance course. And, you know, I used to teach undergraduate accounting for many years at Stellenbosch. So I know the difference between when you are training a CA who's going to be the bookkeeper or the financial accountant, and when you are training management. So here we are training management. So we have a very different angle. The angle here is we want to teach you to sit in a boardroom and ask relevant questions to the finance people who actually work for you, so that we build up your financial confidence so that you can be comfortable with the jargon, asking the right questions, extracting the information, because at the end of the day, you are the ultimate decision maker. You are responsible for the decisions. So also when we talk about responsible leadership, we filter that in. So we want to empower you so that you can work with those internal service providers and build up that confidence that you need to take the business forward. So that is our thinking. And like we do in finance, we also do in every other focus area, whether it be marketing, leadership, operations, looking across industries. We want to empower you to be the leader. Doesn't matter what the people around you speciality is. As I said, we have a strong entrepreneurial focus, not just entrepreneurial, but also entrepreneurial, which means from within the enterprise. I mentioned the gateway to the MBA. At the moment, there are some of the modules, 3 at the moment, which carry over credits into the MBA. What do I mean by that? For instance, the finance module is one of them. At the moment, when you complete the finance module on the PGDip, that finance module is repeated on the MBA, and at the moment you get that module off. Now, I have to say that we are in the process of redesigning the MBA. With the new MBA, all the NQF 8-level credit-bearing modules will fall away as main modules, but they will still be part of the online learning part of the MBA. So you will have some credit, but it won't be for full modules. We will only have NQF 9 modules as full lectured modules on the MBA, but this will happen, I think this will roll out in 2028. So at the moment, for the current guys doing the PGDip now, they will still get some credits for some of these modules if they start the MBA in 2027. But it could be that if you start next year, that the MBA might change. The format might change slightly in 2028. That hasn't been finalized yet, so we still, at the moment, show this as credit transfer. Okay, but this is still under decision making. So we'll give that information when you're here next year, a bit more of that. I mentioned the flexible modules or programs that we have. the blended or the modular. So the blended, of course, the virtual classroom, the modular, that's the face-to-face one that I mentioned. How do you choose? Well, of course, it depends on your availability for travel. I always encourage people, if at all possible, come do the modular with us. The modular is the face-to-face. Why do I say that? Because firstly, you then dedicate an entire week, once a term, to your studies. Now, it's always easier, I think, personally, it's always easier if you've got that week off. You come to class, you've got a lot of classes in that week. I mean, it's 8 to 5, Monday to Saturday. It's a lot, it's very intensive, but you do a lot of work in those sessions. But your mind is completely focused on it because you've got the time off. Of course, the other option is you've got your 2 weeks for the virtual sessions during the year, but the rest of the time you'll have class every Wednesday evening, 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock, which means that you will have to train yourself to go from work mode into study mode. And I know sometimes it can be difficult. Of course, we've got many students that do that very successfully, and you get fit. You get, that's why we built the program like that. So it's possible, but it takes a lot of self-discipline. But I'm sure Andrew will tell you later, self-discipline, I mean, that's just part of the game. That's part of what we teach here. And I think you'll enjoy that. Okay, so a little bit more about the modules that you will be seeing. So these are the names of the modules. You will be doing 8 different modules. That's like subjects. You will start off with, I'm just going to say, if you do it over 1 year. So what happens over 1 year? We have broken the year up into 4 terms. Every term, you do 2 modules. So it's 2 modules, 2 modules, 2 modules, 2 modules. What happens is you then get tested on those modules, and once you've done the tests and the assignments, the module is completed. Right. So the tests typically are after the lectures. Typically, we've got some group work, so a group assignment and then an individual assignment. Sometimes there are more than one individual assignment, but typically that's what you're looking at. So you will start off the year. So this year we started with, we started this year, I think, with understanding the world. Sometimes we start with responsible leadership. So one of these two, either responsible leadership or understanding the world, that will be our first module for the year. And we call this these two are foundational modules. So in term 1 and term 2, you'll have either responsible leadership or understanding the world. Now, responsible leadership, that is, the name says it all. This is one of our core values. You can see here at the bottom, responsible leaders for a better world. That's like our slogan. So this is really what responsible leadership is about. We want to talk to you about the different leadership modules. We want you to decide what type of a leader you are. And there are so many different avenues and so many different philosophies, whether it's servant leadership, whether it is, stakeholder leadership. There are so many modules, so we expose you to those modules, and you get to design your own way of thinking about your personal leadership style. It's so important because we are all different. So we really want to infuse this leadership journey throughout the whole program. The second foundational module we think is so important. We call it understanding the world, but it's a mix between some economics, some politics, some technology trends, some social trends, what's happening in Africa, what's happening across the world, so that you can place your thinking into a global and African context, because that's where your business operates. So we want to understand the world in which we are operating. So for us, these 2 modules really set the stage. Now, in the first term, you will also have, apart from one of these 2, let's say responsible leadership, you will also have what we call a specialization module. So every term, you have 1 foundational module, 1 specialization module. Now, specialization module, the first one you'll see is business finance. That's where you'll meet me again. And we will be talking about all things finance, investing, pricing, cash flow. So we'll get to think about the ins and outs of a business from a financial perspective. Like I said, absolutely the focus is decision-making. In the second term, you'll have one of your foundational modules, as well as a specialization module, marketing management. Of course, marketing strategy, so important. What is a business without its customers? And we need to drive that customer focus and customer-centric thinking. Then, in the third and fourth terms, you will choose a foundational module from some electives. You can see I wrote here 2 foundational electives. You will choose from one of these. Business analytics, that's thinking about, in the old days we called it stats, but it's not really stats like you did at varsity if you did it. It's really about using data analytics in a business. We've got another module called thinking frameworks, teaching you different modes of thinking and how to position yourself there. We've got one called managing projects. We've got one called organizational behavior. And then we've got one called managing risk and uncertainty. So you get a choice between, you choose 2 out of these. And of course, when you get here and also on our brochure and website, you can get some more information about what's encapsulated there. And then, of course, in term 3 and 4, you'll also have 2 other specializational modules, business process management, and our flagship module, entrepreneurship and innovation. We end with this, and this is really the culmination of everything you do. There you get to use all the tools that you've been building over the year and start thinking about idea generation, scalable business model, open innovation, and all things cool like that. So, okay, so really, we're really proud of this module. So that gives you a little bit of a flavor as to what you'll be looking at. Right, so just some like learning outcomes and impact, and really we see this in practice. We see this with our alumni. We see this with our students coming into the MBA. They are so strong. Really, you will walk away with a solid grounding in the modules that we provide. But for me, it's more about the thinking, the critical thinking, the applying of your professional judgment. That's what you'll walk away with, and you'll get to practice it in these areas. I really think that the entrepreneurial and responsible mindset is established. So you come in with a skill set, but you walk out, I think, with a framework of where do I fit in as an individual in the different frameworks. You know, that knowledge that you gain empowers you to place yourself and others in a particular framework. And I think that's where my specialty is emotional intelligence. That's where the emotional intelligence also grows. I think by being able to put the theory to practice. As I said, you will gain a global perspective anchored in Africa. So we teach from an African perspective, but also realizing that we are a global citizen. And then, of course, as I mentioned, if you are thinking about an MBA, but you maybe don't want to enter MBA directly, or you don't have the qualification to enter MBA directly, this is your pathway to an eventual MBA, for sure. Our PGDip students have great success doing the MBA. Okay, so who thrives on this program? If that's you, emerging manager, right? So you're on your way there, you are starting to manage and you want to continue. Or if you're just aspiring to be a manager, this is for you. Aspiring manager or aspiring entrepreneur, this is for you. Or if you're looking to eventually do your MBA. So any of these fit in perfectly into this program. What do you need to be admitted? You need a degree, right? So an NQF 7 or higher. Unless you are coming through the recognition of prior learning pathway, which you can find more information about on our website. So that is open. We don't have a lot of space. So we are limited by the Department of Higher Education to only accept a limited number of candidates through this pathway. But if this is you, then you can speak to Henry about that. Work experience, you do need at least 2 years of relevant full-time work experience. So if you just finished varsity now and you've never worked, you cannot enter the PGDip. We do want, this is not part-time experience, this is full-time work experience for at least 2 years. We prefer if you have management experience, but we will look at it if irrespective of that. You will write a motivational essay. give your CV and supporting documents, etc. If you had mathematics at grade 12 level or an equivalent, that is an advantage in your application, but it's not an absolute requirement. But, you know, we do have a few numbers. I mean, it's not even on grade 12 level. I think grade 12 maths is way harder than the sums we do here. But if you can work a calculator, then, you know, we'll be happy to accept you. I mentioned the two formats, the blended learning, online and on campus. So what we mean with on campus, you can, of course, always come to campus. If you're close by, we have some students in Cape Town that do the blended format, but then they choose to come and sit at the business school for the lectures. You know, our business school is always open. We can make a classroom available for you. We've got some wonderful spaces. So we do have students that, even though they're on the blended format, they come to campus, they come sit here in the evening, they attend their classes from campus. But you can join from anywhere in the world. Or you can do the modular program. As I said, this is the face-to-face one, 1 year or 2 years. 1 year more intensive. But if you're ready for it and you want to get it done, do the 1 year. If you're a bit uncertain, I would seriously consider the 2 years for a more balanced pace. And I think this is where I end. Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm going to hand over back to Henry, but I'll be available here for some questions later on.
Yes, Sonja, thank you very much for that. I hope everybody has you know, gained the important bits, what is required for this program, and yeah, but we will have a Q&A session later on, and I see we've got some questions in the chat as well that I see our team is also attending to. Yes, so why Stellenbosch Business School? As I mentioned before, Triple Crown accredited. Only 1% of business schools have that recognition, and yes, in terms of seeking work or employment internationally, this qualification, and all our qualifications, in fact, are internationally accredited. A global perspective, but in an African context. So yes, we do focus on the world, and I think that is where the module understanding the world will focus on, but also, you know, we bring things back home, and we focus on Africa. We've got an ecosystem of leaders. Many of our alumni go on, and, you know, even the students in class go on to open up successful businesses. Some of them, you know, just flourish, and it's great to have those kind of connections, or to be part of a network like that, because, you know, it's like one hand keeps the other hand. And I mean, Andrew will also explain how things go in terms of that ecosystem of people that he's met in his cohort, and how they are still gelling. And then, of course, responsible leadership. Sonja alluded to it, where, you know, you will see those words, leadership and responsible leadership. You'll see it echoing all over the campus. That's even on the slide as well. And that is something that we pride ourselves in. We want you as a learner to come in as an individual, but walk out as a responsible leader. And yeah, so the foundation of everything we do is, of course, we develop. So we mold you with our lectures and what we do in the class. So we mold you, you know, through our programs. And then, of course, we also demonstrate through our research, and yeah, we distinguish through the quality of our relationships. There's someone once told me that, you know, in order, there can be many distinguished people in the world, but what we want you to be from Stellenbosch Business School is to be a distinction amongst the distinguished. So on that note, yeah, there is our details, applications at stellenboschbusiness.ac.za. And then, of course, my get hold, there's my email address, as well as my colleague Milan. And so yeah, and our website, of course, and of course you can just scan the QR code for our socials. So yeah, thank you very much for joining us for that session. And of course, it's not only us speaking as well. We need to, introduce people who's actually gone through this journey, so that we can have, a first-hand account of what it is to do that, to do this program. And, it's a pleasure for me to introduce you to Andrew Stevens, who has worked at Stellenbosch University for the past 17 years, since 2021. He served as the IT operations manager for our Bellville Park campus, overseeing systems, infrastructure, and operational change. Andrew recently completed his postgraduate diploma in business management and administration at the Business School, graduating cum laude. Well done, Andrew. And he describes the program as a transformational experience that strengthened his strategic thinking, confidence, and leadership capabilities. Please join me in welcoming Andrew. Andrew, thanks once again for your time.
Thank you.
Andrew,
Thank you.
No, 100%. Andrew, you speak that your strategic thinking, confidence, and leadership capabilities enhanced. What urged you to do this program? And tell us more about how it has changed you personally and professionally.
Yeah, thanks, Henry, and thank you for the opportunity. I spent years in technical roles, and I've wanted to take the opportunity to stretch myself beyond the technical space and become more reflective. And we'll hear a lot about responsible leader, and that is exactly what I wanted to become. And personally, the program gave me that confidence. In class, I wasn't the one always asking the questions, but now I'm able to stand here and share my story with you. Professionally, it sharpened that strategic thinking, and it gave me the tools to make better data-driven decisions. It helped me inspire also my colleagues by focusing on the people process more intentionally. Sometimes you just look at something and just look at a symptom instead of coming down to the root cause. And this has also allowed me to change how I lead, how we communicate, and how I see the role shaping the outcomes and the decisions that we make into the future. Thank you.
I was on mute there. Okay, I said that's interesting because that you say that it gives you kind of where you maybe we just had a narrow vision or a tunnel vision. Now you've got a what do you call a bird's eye vision of how you do things within your organization. What are 3 main takeouts that you had from this program? If you have 2, yeah. I don't know why I'm saying 3, but yeah, if you have, yeah.
Look, I can think of 3. Not too difficult. The program was very informative and inspirational in that sense. The main thing that I took out of it is that leadership is more than just the titles. It's about courage and it's about responsibility. And as Sonja mentioned earlier, it's about service. And when I say that, it means that leadership is not something that you wait to be appointed to, but it's more about the changes that you make every day, and whether you take responsibility for the way that things go wrong, or the way that you act with integrity in difficult situations, and whether you serve others rather than just yourself. Titles can give you authority, but they don't guarantee respect, and again, true leadership is earned through the courage and service, and that's something that I learned through the PGDip program, and it helped me internalize that, something else. And we've heard a lot about those structural modules, and that's also something else. It speaks about the data and the structure, which is important, but it's also about the relationships that we build with one another. And the program gave me the tools to be able to analyze data and structure, yes, but it also reminded me that real change happens when you connect with others, when you build trust and when you inspire them to believe in a vision, and organizational behavior and responsible leadership, which is one of those modules, reinforce that leadership is about how you make people feel, how you respect them and you support them in their values. And without a strong relationship, even the best strategies will struggle to succeed. And then probably lastly, you in the program, you'll do a lot of teamwork. And through this program, you'll also learn resilience, and resilience comes from that teamwork and that shared challenges. And what I've also learned in particular to that is that we are more alike than what we think. And this makes us stronger. You know, working in these diverse teams during the program showed me that it's more than just about pushing through individually. You know, it's about leaning on each other and learning from each other and their different perspectives, and realizing that despite our differences, we share more common goals than what we think. And the discovery that we are more alike than what we think builds that empathy and that strength. And it taught me that resilience is a collective, and that shared challenge can be forge bonds that last well into the future and beyond the classroom even.
Beyond the classroom. Now that's brilliant to see. Just the last one before we open up the floor, because I can see Danny has some burning questions for us. So you mentioned when you were speaking earlier about strong relationships. I know that you've done this program, I think modular, right? And over 1 year,
Yes.
module over 1 year. So that is that, like Sonja also alluded to, is intense. How was your support? And I'm going back to strong relationships, as you mentioned. How was your support doing this as a student, juggling work, having a family and so forth? And how does that support help you in this journey? Or do you think if you don't have support, you can just do this on your own?
Yeah, look, on your own, you're not like the Springboks. We're stronger together, they say. So yeah, look, juggling the two aspects, family and work, it was challenging. But the program itself, for me, during my time period, was structured in such a way that it actually helped me apply the learnings as I learned. And my family was a huge support, and they understood the commitment that I took, and they also encouragement. So that encouragement was important. And at work, wonderful colleagues who understood the fact that I was learning and I was studying, and that they also gave me that particular space. And with that, at Stellenbosch Business School, the peer network was, I can say, invaluable. We supported each other, and with the teams, we shared our experiences, and we also built our resilience together. That combination of family and workplace and peer support, carried me through and made the journey not only possible but meaningful. I took that.
No, thank you very much for that, Andrew, and it's really appreciated. So we're going to open up the floor to all of you, to our participants. Feel free to raise your hand or just tell us what your question is. But while you are preparing that, we've got a question from Tulani Maziko in the chat, Sonja. Tulani asks, does this program open doors to strategy and management consultant roles?
Thank you for that. And I just want to say, Andrew, well, I think we should start using you on teaching at the business school. I mean, you were so well spoken, and what a great testimony to the program. Just to hear the way you experienced the development. I mean, it's wonderful to hear that these things actually work. As to the question relating to opening doors, I think that any qualification at the Stellenbosch Business School opens doors. I've seen this. I think this is one of, this brand. And of course, you're going to learn a lot, and you're going to learn all the things that Andrew talked about. So yes, in terms of your actual skills, I do think, yes, it will equip you to function in any strategic role. But what we see is that the brand behind the business school, the Stellenbosch brand, is such a powerful brand, not just locally, but internationally. We are really one of, we talk to international universities all the time. We see our MBA students going, they do, if you do the MBA, you do an international elective. So we partner with business schools from across the globe. And Stellenbosch is a well-recognized brand. So with this stamp of approval on your CV, the Stellenbosch brand, I really think that alone sets the bar, just sets you up for success. So I think adding that to your resume from the business school, absolutely.
Oh, great, man. Yes, I strongly agree with you when you mention that. Stellenbosch as a brand, yeah, it does carry some weight wherever you go. All right. Any questions? I see that Olivia has been doing a great job answering PR um, in the chat. Let me just see if there's anything that we can. Okay. Yes, we do provide ebooks for those of you who are thinking of should you buy textbooks as well. And
yeah, I see there was a question on assessments. Maybe I can just illuminate that a little bit.
Yeah.
So our assessments, we have been moving away from the traditional test assessment type, but we still have modules that we do a test. For instance, our numeric modules, like for example, finance or business analytics, you still do a test because that's just the nature of those modules. You need to be tested on application of that typical theory, doing calculations, etc. So we do have some, I want to say, more traditional tests, but many of our assessments are different type of assessments. It's not the test environment. You might have an essay or reflective work or assignments, individual assignments. So it's a variety of different assessments, but not just your traditional tests. And even when you do have a test, they are typically open book tests. So we don't expect a high level of memorization. We regard that memorization function more as an undergraduate aspect. So we don't expect you to do a lot of memorization. We do want you to apply the thinking. So we won't ask you, if you think of Bloom's taxonomy, those of you that's familiar with that, we don't ask you like a direct question that you can answer from the textbook. It's more giving you a case study and seeing if you can apply the thinking behind the theory to the cases. So that's more our way of assessment. When you do a type of a test, we have a virtual testing environment. So all your tests are written online. We've got a virtual invigilating system that we will show you how it works. So it's still a test environment wherever you are writing from. But yes, so that's just a little bit of how our thinking about assessments are.
Okay. Jason, yes.
Yes, thanks Henry and Sonja and Andrew for all your input. I've got a few questions, but I'll try to remember all of them. The first one is the PGDip, is there like a minimum amount of like a mark you have to get straight into MBA, or what is that process like, that bridge between the PGDip moving or have that ambitions and goals to do the MBA after that?
Yes, I think Olivia, can you help me with this one? I think is it 65 average now?
Yes. So in order for you to do the MBA, you need to have an average of 65% and above. So if you do average, I think what happens is if you do average that amount as a current student, I think, and maybe Edwina can correct me, I think that halfway through the year, we'll actually invite you, as a current student, but you should have that average of 65% and above to apply for the MBA.
Yeah. So basically what it does, it's a fast track. So
yeah.
Let's say you do your PGDip over 1 year in 2027. If you are 3/4 through the program, and we can see that you're averaging around the 65, and it's evident that you'll probably make that cut, you can then apply for the MBA in 2028. Of course, you need to keep that average up, so you must make sure that you keep that 65% average until the end of the year. But what it allows you is, on the strength of that 65 average, to apply at the end of 2027 to apply for the 2028. If you don't make that 65, then you will have to wait until you graduate with your PGDip. Now, the graduation is only in March of the following year. that means you won't be able to enter into the MBA on this this fast track option. Then you can only apply for the MBA after graduation. So that means you'll be in the intake in 2029. So I think that's basically the short or the I think I'm putting it correctly. So it gives you a quicker entry into the MBA.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And also the later modules, when do you decide that the business analytics and the options you have, is there someone that can help you with that decisions you make, or is that something you have to submit early in the year, or how does that work?
Maybe Olivia, you know the timing. When does that normally happen?
Sure. So at the beginning of the year, we will have your orientation and we will take you through those different options. You can just contact me. I usually send students more information regarding the specifics of the module that you're interested in. And if you need further details, you can always liaise directly with the lecturer for that module.
And when is the decision made? Is that
The decision
you don't
is
have to decide it all in the beginning, or do
No, so we'll
it's a bit
provide you with the
staggered, I think.
information and you'll make the decision, let's say in February, March. But we provide the information very early on. So in January, let's say January, February, you get your information, and at the end of Feb or beginning March, you then put your you make your selection.
Are you good, Jason? Okay. Chopsay has asked in the chat, what is the minimum level of computer literacy required for this program, and which softwares will be mostly used? Example, MS Office, Power BI, Python, etc.
Well, I mean, just as far as I mean, we
Yeah.
use Microsoft Office mostly, the basics, Word,
Yeah.
Excel, PowerPoint. I'm not sure if we use something like Python. I don't think so. Business analytics, I'm talking under correction. I'm not sure what that module does. Maybe Andrew can tell us a little bit more that he remembers.
Yeah.
If there's anything else that we use, but I don't think it's that sophisticated.
No, it's just Excel, Word, PowerPoint. Even in business analytics, you only used Excel. You
Okay.
did have the option to use something else, but the Excel was preferred.
Okay. And then, of course, the normal, just our personal platforms and applications that we use. But it's nothing too, I think, strenuous, nothing more than that you're used to in the general office environment.
Yes, I think the stream, data science and AI, the last time I spoke to them, they use Power BI and Python, etc. Malcolm Collins, hi there. I applied via RPL last year, but unfortunately I was declined due to space. If I apply again, should I get new references, or can the same people provide references? I'll leave this over to Knox or Edwina.
Edwina, can you please take this one? No, we can't hear you. Oh, she's not very much audible.
She's not audible.
Yes, but no, I will say that the same people can send reference.
Yeah.
I think decisions are not made by who sends the reference. You know, a reference is a reference, so that should be fine.
Yeah, Malcolm, thanks for that. And so you applied last year via RPL, and you applied again this year. You're gonna apply again this year. I'm holding thumbs for you, Malcolm. And thanks for joining us this evening. So PR, I presume or assume this is Pooja Ramcharan.
Yes, sorry, I joined from a different device. Thank you for answering all my questions, Olivia. It's been very informative. I just wanted to confirm with regards to the references, because I've applied to a few places and my references have already wrote me letters. Would a PDF be accepted, or do they still have to do the links?
Can I take this one?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, can you please explain what references?
So on the application, it asks for 2 references.
Can ask you, Miguel.
Yeah. So there is a template that we use that that you'll have to fill in that template. So I'm not sure if when you apply, if you receive that template. So it's not just a PDF sort of motivational letter that they need to complete. There's a format that they need to follow, and that template is issued to you once you apply. So you need to send it to them, and then they need to email it back to us.
Okay, no, that's perfect. Thank you very much. I'll wait for that template then.
Okay, no, it's fine. You can also drop your email, and then I can send it to you.
Okay, great. I'll put it in the chat.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Thanks,
Thank
Sonja.
you.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
Yes. Sorry, Henry. Yeah,
Yeah, Jason.
I've got the last question. My Zoom threw me out, but I got most of it. I was struggling to get back in. I was also wondering, or am I too early? Should I attend tomorrow evening again? But the PGDip in the AI management and the data science one, how does that one look in terms of subjects and its road to the MBA as well?
Okay, so what I can confirm is that is a very new program. I'm not sure. They'll discuss those modules. They'll discuss tomorrow. Yeah, in general, your postgraduate diplomas, it doesn't have to be a certain stream, can give you access to an MBA. It's just that with this is a specific one that is kind of like the baby MBA in terms of so forth. The data science and AI is only launching in 2027. And yeah, it's got the same foundational modules, but very specialized. Yeah, and Sonja.
So if I could just add that that program shares the 4 of the 8 modules with the BMA. So for next year, the 4 foundational modules, the understanding the world, the responsible leadership, and the other 2 foundational modules are shared throughout all our postgraduate diplomas. So we've got a number of PGDips. They all share the foundational modules. That's why they're called foundational modules. The specialization modules, those 4 are different. But yes, any of our PGDips, you can get entry into the MBA. So it works the same for all of them. It doesn't have to be the BMA.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all my questions.
All right, Jason, thank you very much for that.
Can I just also add, we also just need to flag that the BMA AI stream is only offered over 1 year. So we don't have a over 2-year option for that stream.
Yes, 100%. Only offered over 1 year, and and the applications for that program is very limited. We are not taking a big number of students as
I think we're limited to 30 for next year.
Yeah,
we'll only be having a small class of 30.
Yeah.
So at least you'll get individual attention.
100%. Any other questions? I think 7:05. I think we can take some last questions. If not, Andrew and Sonja, just in closing, why will you, Andrew, just from your side, why would you encourage somebody to do this program?
Sorry, man, I'm looking for my unmute button. For me, it was the credibility of the institution, and for me also the credibility goes beyond just what Stellenbosch Business School can offer you. It for me personally, the PGDip program gave me the credibility beyond the technical background, which I had plenty of, and it showed me to think strategically and to lead responsibility. And again, that word you'll hear a lot coming through the program and throughout all the modules. And they bring value at a leadership level and not only at operational level.
Thank you, Andrew. And you know, that is so true. You know, we see a lot of engineers and people that work in IT and hardcore technical people coming through to our programs because they need the business aspect of everything. You know, everything is not just about working, you know, with your hands or working with certain things, or technical things. And we see a lot of them coming through. And Sonja, you've seen a lot of these students filtering through
Yes.
through the
Yes,
process.
and I just want to add to what
Yeah.
Andrew has said and what you've been saying, Henry, is that I see this is like a launch pad. I mean, I'm expecting a student to come in here with some technical proficiency, somebody who has worked, who sort of has the start of a vision of what's next, but maybe hasn't articulated that vision into the next steps, so the pathway. So I think what this thinking, it's almost like you go into, you know, the thinking frameworks. The shift in thinking is, how do I articulate from where I am now into the rest of my career and beyond? You know, these days people have second and third careers all the time. You know, I'm a coach as well, and a lot of my coaching is about people transitioning from a formal career into a second career or third career. So we need to start thinking about that, thinking strategically about our own journeys. And I think this is a launch pad with a Stellenbosch brand behind you. This is just, it makes that journey a little bit smoother. It's a good starting point. So I see that as this is a launch pad. So I'm hoping that you'll come and rocket ship with us.
Yeah, 100%. Dani, no questions, just really worried I don't get in because this is really what I want to do, and I really want to go and do the MBA and more. Dani, come on, man. You know what, it's worth a shot. You know, and tell you what, we're having an in-person on campus day on the 18th of September. I know you live in Napier, it's omtrent so 2.5 ure weg. Take the drive-through, and then when you come join us at the business school for a nice chat and so forth. But and
I've been there many times.
You have?
I did MDP and SMDP at the business school, so I've been there many times, and I really enjoyed both experiences. And to what Andrew was alluding earlier, the takeout for me from MDP and SMDP was always the experience in the room. You learn so much from the people around you. Yes, the course and the value from the course is exceptional, but the way other people think and the way other people think about business, and he said we're all so much alike, but someone just says something and they just think about the same scenario from a different angle, and all of a sudden the light bulb goes on, and why didn't I just think of that? And that was always the greatest takeaways for me from the MDP and the SMDP, the small little things, the expertise in the room, not just the lecturers, but the very capable people that were in the room with you, and the added value every single day. And so I've been there a bunch, and it's really added value to the manager I am today, and how I think about business and how I do business every day, and the leader I am today. So Stellenbosch Business School has already played a very big part.
Oh, that's encouraging. So you've got an MDP, I believe you're RPL, right?
Yes, RPL is.
Okay, so you've got an MDP and an SMDP. I think
that definitely strengthens the application. You know, for any of our RPL candidates, I've been, you know, we do have limited space. So it's only, you know, the top candidates we have more applications than we can place, as you've heard. But if you are an RPL candidate, the more of these types of courses that you add to your CV, like Donnie has alluded to, it definitely strengthens, so we look at the experience, the number of years, the roles that you have, as well as these types of courses because RPL stands for recognition of prior learning. So we look at the learning journey that you've had in the business, and also what have you demonstrated that you are an eager learner. And so the types of courses that Donnie has alluded to definitely strengthens that application. So for all of you, best of luck with those RPL applications. It is true we can't always place all the applicants, but we've had many students that have reapplied, and that did eventually come in, even if they weren't successful the first time. So never keep on trying. You want the Stellenbosch stamp. That's all I can say. So best of luck for all of you, and we look forward to your applications.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, so keep on applying. And just a quick example, we had a student in one of our other PGDips who did not come into RPL but was put on a waiting list. He came through eventually a week or two. I think Olivia knows him as well. A week or two on the PGDip project management. And last year or this year, he graduated as the top student in that class. So get it in there. And we will also have a session only for RPL applicants on the 26th of August with Professor Jaco Forsking, our Head of Teaching and Learning. So if that is it, I would like to thank all of you on the call tonight. Edwina, thank you very much. Olivia, my colleagues in the marketing team, Knox, thank you very much for your time. Andrew, that was very inspirational, and I'll see you on campus. And Sonja, thank you very much for your time. And so guys, keep those applications coming in. Remember, the 31st of October, applications officially close for international and South African students, and for RPL, 30th of September. So yes, we hope to see you and receive your applications. And from all of us here at Stellenbosch Business School, have a lovely Thursday evening. Goodbye.
Thank you, Henry.
Bye.
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 You can stop recording.